Hi, welcome to this tutorial. In this tutorial, you will learn how to create a map like this, where it shows the total confirmed cases of coronavirus as of 5th of March 2020. This map has been created entirely using the data which has been taken from the internet. So in this tutorial, you will learn how to use Python in order to grab data from external resources like certain websites, how to do certain manipulations to that data, and how to make a meaningful map using those data using GIS softwares like ArcGIS. So if you would like to see how to do that, let's get started with the tutorial. Alright, for this tutorial, the code editor which I'm going to be using is Spyder. If you haven't configured Spyder through the Anaconda distribution, don't worry, I've got you covered. I've created a tutorial showing you how to install Python and how to install Spyder through the Anaconda distribution. So the link is down in the description below in case if you haven't configured that. Plus, I will be using two Python libraries for this, Pandas and GeoPandas. So again, when you install Anaconda distribution, Pandas is actually automatically installed along with that, but GeoPandas you have to configure it separately. And I have also done a tutorial showing you how to install GeoPandas without any hassle, just using one command using the Anaconda prompt. So the link for that also is down in the description below. Check that out if you haven't installed Pandas and GeoPandas. This is the code editor which I'm going to be using, that's Spyder. First of all, before doing anything, I would like to first save my project. So in order to save your project, you can first navigate to the folder which you would like to work in using this browse button. Right now I'm already in the folder which I would like to work in, so I'm going to select that folder first. And then when I come to the file explorer over here, you will see that it shows me everything inside that folder. So I'm just going to right click on this white space over here and create a new module. And this module will be my .py file, which is the Python file. So I'm just going to give a name, coronavirus cases 2020. Alright, so after you have installed Pandas and GeoPandas, we can import those two libraries just by typing import pandas as pd, and I'm going to also import GeoPandas as gpd. Alright, now you might wonder how we are going to actually collect the data that we would need. Now today is 5th of March 2020. So in order to get the updated cases of coronavirus, I have found this website called worldometers.info/coronavirus. So if I open that website over here, you can see that currently it's 96,612 cases, and you can also see the information on the amount of people who recovered. I'm just going to scroll down a bit, and you can see over here a very detailed table which shows the country and the total amount of cases, the total amount of new cases, total deaths, new deaths, active cases, total recovered, and serious critical cases. So for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm actually trying to extract the data directly from this table using the Pandas library. And I'm only going to focus on the first column, on the second column, which shows you the total cases. So I'm just going to sort of extract this data and project this data into a map with the help of Python and also another GIS software. I'm going to use ArcGIS, but you can also use other softwares like QGIS or Global Mapper or Map Window or any GIS software of your choice. So now let's see how we can actually extract the data directly from this table. What I can do is I can actually create a variable called data. Now the variable names, if you're new to sort of programming, I mean, you don't have to create the variable name same as the variable name that I'm going to pick. It's just your choice. You can name it as data1 or even something else. I'm just going to use pd.read.html. And over here, I'm actually going to specify the web address, which is this one. So in order to run this, you can either hit F5 or you can simply click this button, this run button. And as you can see over here, we did not get any error. Alright, now you can do a quick check to see whether you to see what kind of data you have imported. You can do that either by typing the name of the variable over here in your Python console, and also you can have a look at the type of this variable. Now, as you can see over here, it's actually the type of the variable is a list, not really a pandas data frame. Even if you go to this variable explorer, you can actually already see that we have one variable which is of type list. Now, if I open this, and if I double click on this value, you can see that we actually managed to successfully import that table, isn't it? Maybe there are some rows which we might not need, plus few columns that we also which we might also need to get rid of. But apart from that, everything looks quite fine. So what I'm going to do is actually I'm just going to take this information out from a list, and I'm going to save that into a pandas data frame. Now, one way of doing this quite easily is actually to create is through a for loop. So you can do something like this. For I'm going to create another variable called for data cases in data print. Now I'm going to put the same variable over here. Now look over here. When I run the program, we sort of managed to extract whatever inside that list into a data frame. This is a pandas data frame. Now, if you want to have a quick check on your IPython console, what is the type of this data cases, you can just do it simply by typing type data cases, and now it shows that it's a pandas data frame. Alright, so if I open this data case pandas data frame, you see that we have a numerous number of columns, out of which I would require only this country other column and the total cases column. Now, either you can get rid of all these other columns, or you can create a new variable which only contains the columns that you actually require. So I think it's easier to select the number of columns or the columns that you would require rather than trying to delete the columns that you don't need. So that's what I would do over here. Now I can type data cases, and now I can make this data cases equal to data cases, and over here you can specify only the names of the columns that you actually would like to have. In this case, I would like to have these two columns, which is country, other, and total cases. Now, don't worry about this, because in programming we can actually define variables like this. So what happens is this new variable will be assigned whatever the statement that you have typed over here, and it will sort of replace the data that has been assigned to this variable prior to that. So now if I run this, and if I go to the variables explorer, and if I check the data cases, you can see that we only extracted the amount of data that we only extracted the columns that's sort of relevant to us, and we got rid of the other columns basically. So now we have the total cases recorded for each country in here. Now my objective is actually to finally transfer this information into a world map. So I have already prepared a world map. If I open this file explorer, you can see that I have a shapefile over here which is a world map. So that's where this GeoPandas Python library is going to be handy. We can import these shapefiles without any issue. You don't need a GIS software to open the shapefiles, and you can even manipulate shapefiles using the GeoPandas software, using the GeoPandas library. So I'm going to create another variable called world data, and that's going to be equal to GPD. That comes from here, which means we're actually calling the GeoPandas library, and read file. and we specify the file path over here, and the name of the file, I'm just going to copy it over here rather than typing it again. worldmap.shp, that's the shapefile. Now I can run this one again. Alright, if I go to the variables explorer, you can see that we have another new variable called world data, which I defined over here. And if you open this world data file over here, you can see that it has just two columns. The first column shows you the name of the country. It has quite a number of countries. In fact, it's a world map, so it has all the countries. And also there's another column which corresponds to a name called geometry. Now this is actually a special column which makes it a geo data frame, not just a pandas data frame. So what do I mean by that? If you type world data.plot like this, you can see actually this is the plot of this world data, and this plot is enabled thanks to that geometry column. So even you can just zoom in on certain areas, you can even pan this. So this is basically a shapefile which we are going to transfer the information that we recorded into this data cases variable, and we're going to display this in a map. Alright, so that's done. Now the way I'm going to transfer this information from this data cases variable, which has a column, the countries where these coronavirus cases were recorded, I'm going to actually transfer these numbers based on the name of the country. But there could be one issue, that the name of the country in this file might not be precisely same as the name of the file to the way the name of the country has been defined in this shapefile. So just to be on the safe side, I'm just actually going to do a quick check. What I'm going to check is I'm going to pick each and every name from this data cases which we downloaded actually from the website, and I'm going to check whether there is a similar entry in the shapefile or not. For example, first I'm going to select the name China, and I'm going to actually loop through all the names of this world data geodata frame, and I'm going to see whether there is an equivalent name as China in this geodata frame or not. If there is an equivalent term, I'm just going to pass it, and if there is not, I'm actually going to print a statement saying that this certain country is actually not in this world data list. So if you have some experience with if-else commands, you know that I'm actually going to use a conditional statement over here, and in order to do the looping, I'm actually going to use a for loop. So it can go something like this. I'm just going to name it as items. Now items is actually the variable name. You can put a name of your choice over here. In data cases. Now data cases by itself is a pandas data frame. I'm actually going to transfer this. When I'm looping, it's easier for me to have a list instead of having a pandas data frame. So either I can convert this data cases, the corresponding column which contains the names of the countries, into a list separately, or I can actually do it directly in here. So if I were to do it directly over here, what I can do is I can actually specify the column that I'm going to refer to, which is the country other column. I'm going to specify over here to list. Now if I only select this one, and then if I go to the IPython console and if I run this one over here, you can see that it's showing me some data. Now if I check the type of this, you will see that actually it's a pandas series. because when we take, if you just imagine a pandas data frame as a table, if you have only one column in your table, we actually call that individual column a pandas series. So in this case, I'm actually selecting only one column. That's why it's saying that it's a series. Now, if I select this whole thing and if I check the type of that, now it says that it's a list. So let's have a look at that, how this list looks. You can just press enter over here, and you can see that it's actually starting from a square bracket and ending with a square bracket. That's how we define lists. So now it's a list. So that's how you can actually convert this whole thing into a list on the go, rather than assigning different variables into it. Alright, so now we are inside the loop. So I'm actually going to create another variable called world data list, and that's going to be equal to world data to list similar to what I did over here. I just converted the, sorry, over here I have to specify the name of the column which contains the countries. So if I come back to this variables explorer, and if I open this world data, you can see that the name which contains the countries, the name of the column is actually name. So I'm just going to select it over here and convert that into a list. And now I'm going to specify the conditional statements. So if the items, so for each loop, the items, which means now while it's looping through one after another, these items are actually going to change. So for example, since this is looping through this country other column, first the item is going to be equal to China, and in the second loop the item is going to be equal to South Korea, Iran, Italy, Diamond Princess, Germany, and so on. So what I'm saying is, if these items for each iteration is inside the world data list, then actually we don't have an issue. So we don't need to do anything. When you don't need to do anything, you can just simply pass a pass statement and it'll not do anything. But if you don't find that name, which means else, you have to do something. Now, one way to ask the program to indicate the things, the names of the countries which are actually not inside the shapefile's name list, we can simply pass a print command and say that items. Now, as I told you, in the first iteration, this items is going to be equal to China. So if China is actually not in the shapefiles list, it's going to say items. So in this case, it's going to be China in the first iteration is not in the world data list. All right, so now we can run this one and see what happens. Wow, okay, you can see that we have a number of countries which are actually not matching. First of all, Korea is not in the list, Iran is not in the list, Diamond Princess is not in the list. I actually don't expect Diamond Princess to be on the list because Diamond Princess is not a country. If you care to Google this is actually a cruise ship. So of course you won't get the cruise ship in the world map. So definitely I'm not going to include this one in our final representation. This is going to get kicked out. USA is not in the list. I'm guessing that USA is not in the list because probably in the world map they might be mentioning the name of the USA to be either United States or United States of America, and the same thing might go for UK. I think it could be the case that in the shapefile it's mentioned as United Kingdom, UAE, Vietnam, Macau, and so on. So now, since it's actually not that much, only a few entries, we can manually go and change the shapefile, the name of the shapefile. So for example, I can actually do a quick check using my GIS software, for which I'm using the ArcGIS. So if I open my files over here, you can see I have the shapefile over here. I'm just going to simply drag and drop it over here. Now, coming back to this, you can see that South Korea is not in the world data list. So this is basically the world data. So I'm just going to take the select tool, and I know where South Korea is. So I'm just going to click over here to get the information about the country. Alright, now you see the name of Korea is actually in the form of Korea, Republic of. So that's why it did not recognize. Now Iran, it's a bit surprising to me why Iran is not in the list. So let's go over here and check Iran. Alright, it's actually in the form of Iran, Islamic Republic of. So that's why it did not identify. Diamond Princess for obvious reasons. USA and UK, let's have a look. Yeah, as I guessed, USA is named as United States and UK probably United Kingdom. Okay, now just like that, you can actually have a look at each and every country. So now what I'm going to do is, for example, this South Korea, I'm just going to stick to the values, stick to the names which is mentioned in this website. So I'm just going to return this s.korea to be my final representation. And I'm just going to change the name over here in the world map from South Korea to s.korea. So what you can do is you can actually type world data dot replace. Now first you have to type the name which is already in there. So if I go back to the name that I can find for South Korea, you can just copy the selected name, and if you paste it over here, it's Korea Republic of, and I'm going to replace that with the name which is in my list, which is actually this one, South Korea. And make sure you enter this in place equals true in order to make that replacement a permanent one. So similarly, I'm actually going to do it for all of these entries except for the Diamond Princess. So I'll actually just fast forward the video of me doing that. Alright, after you have done that, you no longer need this check. So I'm just going to select everything and press Ctrl 1 so you can actually comment that out. So let's run this program and see. Alright, so now given the fact that I'm actually going to do the transfer of data based on the countries, based on the name of the country, I have to actually have the name of the country. I have to have the column which contains the names of the country to be a common name. So if I open this shapefile, the geodata frame, over here, the name of the column which contains the country's names is actually name in capital. But if I open these data cases, it's actually the country comma other. So I'm just going to go ahead and change this name from country other to have the similar name as the geodata frame, which is NAME. So you can actually simply replace the names of pandas data frames just by first specifying the pandas data frame data cases dot rename country comma other and then I have to type the name by which I'm going to replace this existing name, and that's going to be NAME name. Again, make sure you make the in place to be equal to true, so that this replacement is actually becoming a permanent replacement. So we can go ahead and run this now. And if I open the variables explorer and if I open the data cases, you can see that the name has already been changed to NAME. Alright, now we can actually do a simple merge operation. I'm just going to create another variable called combined, and the combined is equal to world data, and I'm going to merge this with data cases on this column name. So that column name is name. Alright, now we can run this and see what happens. Now if I open the variables explorer and if I go to this combined, you can see that it contains the name of the country and this the special geometry column, which makes this combined not just a pandas data frame but a GeoPandas geodata frame. And also it shows the number of cases. Now you can see already here China has the maximum number of cases according to this, and it shows the number of cases of each country. Now if you want to weave the information from this combined geodata frame, you can even just type combined dot head. Maybe we can type 20 and it'll show us 20 entries. You can see the country's name and you have the total cases over here. Now if I check the type of this combined, it says that it's a GeoPandas geodata frame, which means you can save this combined as a shapefile back into any of your folders. Now the way to do that would be you can specify combined to file, and over here you can specify the path to which you would like to save the file. Just going to put it in the same folder. Put it over here. I'm going to specify the file name as combined.shp. Now check this out. When I run this, the new shapefiles actually gets created over here. You see, we have a set of files which comes along with the creation of a shapefile. So now actually our task is pretty much done. We can now open our GIS software. You can actually either use matplotlib in order to create a nice plot of the map, but I'm going to keep that to another tutorial, how we can actually create beautiful maps using GeoPandas. So for this tutorial I'm actually going to use back my GIS software, which is ArcGIS. You can even have a quick look at the attributes table. You can see now over here it's only the name of the country. Now if you open this, you can actually drag and drop the shapefile which you created using GeoPandas, which happens to be the countries where the coronavirus cases were recorded. So now in order to look this map a bit more pretty, I'm actually just going to go ahead and get rid of Antarctica just for the purposes of keeping it a bit clean. So I just can edit and then I can select this and press delete. I'm going to save that edit. Alright, now if I open this combined shapefile, you can see that it has the name of the country plus the total number of cases. So I'm just going to first go to the properties of the base layer. I'm going to go to symbology, and I'm going to assign a different color. Probably, let's say we assign something like gray color, because I want to sort of keep the colors which were not affected by the coronavirus in a different color. And then when we go to this combined layer and go to properties, we can then go to probably quantities, and over here as the value, now we're actually going to create a range of colors based on the total number of cases. So that's actually going to be my value, and we can break this into a certain number of classes. No, I can maybe divide it into, let's say, about 15 classes. So over here what it shows is the range. So the lightest yellow is actually showing the cases with 1 to 2 cases, and this dark brown is showing the cases ranging from 6,089 up to 80,430. So you can actually go ahead and change the color ramp, which has a color variation of, let's say, something like this. Or you can just go with a single color, like for example, if I select this red color, now you can see it's actually showing different shades of red like this. So I guess for this tutorial I'm actually going to stick with this color, and I'm just going to go over here and change this to be like that. And I can also add a base map. I'm going to use the OpenStreetMap. Alright, so we can actually change the transparency of the base map, because we don't want to focus our attention much on that. Maybe we can put about 45%. We'll see how it looks. Yeah, I think that looks good enough. Alright, so if you want to transfer this map into a proper map, you can actually go to layout view over here. Now I would like to have this map in the landscape form, so you can actually change your layout using this button, and I'm going to select A4 size, but landscape. Alright, so I'm just going to go back to the data view over here, and then I'm going to take the magnifying glass, and I'm just going to actually select my area of preference just to cover the whole area which has information. And then I'm going to go back to the layout view, well, you still have some spaces left over here, and you can always extend your map in order to fit. And I'm going to go back over here, and I take the magnifying glass again, and I'm going to zoom into the whole image. Now you can see that it actually covers the whole extent of the map. Alright, now we can add a certain things in order to make this map actually a bit more meaningful. So one thing you can do is to add the north arrow. Quite simple. You can go to insert and add the north arrow from here. I'm going to select a north arrow of my preference. I'm just going to select something simple like this. And I can also add a scale bar. You can go to insert and add a scale bar. Over here you can select the units. Of course we are talking about a massive scale, so over here I'm actually just going to go with kilometers, which would be an appropriate way to actually define this kind of massive scales. And now the most important thing that you have to do is actually to transfer your data over here into a legend. So you can actually go to insert and go to legend, and then you can remove the entries that you don't want to keep over here. So I'm just going to select this world map and I'm going to remove that, and I'm going to just go ahead and click next. You can spend some time if you would like to make certain changes into the font and the sizes, but I'm just going to, for this tutorial, just going to go ahead because my objective is just to get this data into the map rather than making the data pretty, I would say. Now you can see that we still actually have some room to improve this map. What I can do is I can actually get rid of this total cases over here, and I can directly specify over here something like total confirmed cases, and that would be transferred to here. So just to isolate this from the rest, I'm actually just going to only specify a border, not really put anything else, which I can do by going to the frame and specifying a border over here. Yeah, I think that's good enough. And finally, I'm going to also add one heading. You can do that by going to insert and add a title. So the title that I would like to add is total confirmed cases of coronavirus as of March 5th, 2020. Now I can click OK. Now if you would like to make certain changes to this to the text of this heading, you can actually just double click on that and you can go to change symbol, and then over here you can make the necessary changes that you would like. I'm just going to retain the font type. Maybe I'll increase the font size to be 20. Now let's see how that looks. Yeah, I think that's good enough for this map. Alright, now finally you can export this map as a JPEG. So you can go to File and Export Map. I'm just going to name this as cases. The type, you can select JPEG, and the resolution, I'm just going to select the resolution to be about 300 dpi. Right, you can open your folder and you can see that the JPEG is already here, and if you double click on that, you will be able to see quite relatively a high resolution map of the total confirmed cases of coronavirus as of 5th March 2020. So this is actually quite an accurate descriptive map of the situation right now. As you can see over here, the most number of cases has been recorded in China, followed by Iran over here, Italy, quite red as well. United States, not so good either. Certain countries like South Africa, Sri Lanka has only recorded a very minimal number of cases. So this is the situation right now. Obviously, we are hoping that the virus wouldn't spread to the other countries which has been marked in gray color. We want this to stop as soon as possible, but as of now, this is the situation, and this is how you can basically grab data from external sources and put them into a map with the help of Python GeoPandas and as well as GIS softwares like ArcGIS. So if you learn something new from this tutorial, click that like button, and if you would like to see interesting tutorials like these, definitely you can consider subscribing as well. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.